Good afternoon, Dave. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very aware that I turn into presenter voice as soon as it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're live.
I always take a deep breath for some reason beforehand to then start.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's like when you at some events when you stand up to speak, you speak differently in like presenter compared to when you sat down as well.
I again tend to take a walk before I go on stage and talk to anybody to psych myself up, I guess, put myself in the right frame of mind.
So it's International Networking Week this week. So what are we on? Monday, the 2nd of February, International Networking Week. What does that mean to you, Dave?
I think it allows us to reset and have a little bit more focus about it. I love the fact that I've seen people talking about networking. We do networking all the time, and it can become quite familiar. It can become quite routine, and I like to feel that I do okay at networking. I think you do okay at networking, but it allows me to reset and think about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it with purpose, rather than am I just going through the motions. Sometimes we need that little nudge, that little push from somebody to really reflect and think, am I making the most of this? What can I do a little bit differently? How can I help people help me, or help me to help people?
And it's interesting that you say that. It's about helping people, not what can you get. I think for a lot of people, what unknowingly, because they've never really learnt about this, well, who's going to be there? What are they going to do for me? Are they my kind of clients? So if I go to that event, is it a room full of my clients? What do you mean, no? Well, I'm not interested in going to that then.
Or I've been to an event, I got nothing from it, I don't go back
Oh,
because I went with the wrong mind frame.
I went networking once and it didn't work. Yes, I hear that a lot, and lots of other things. And I like stories. I like stories. So how? Let's start with a story. So what's a good example of how networking has helped you?
I working within the food and drink industry, and we have regular trade shows and events that we go to. So I turn up regularly, and I help. I help the stores, I help the brands, and I just help. And sometimes things come back. From that, one of the largest supplement companies asked me, because I'd volunteered some time to do a talk for some of the retail stores that happened to be their customers. They asked me if I would write and deliver an online and in-person training program that led through to a in-person conference, and that was maybe 10, 12,000 pounds worth of business. And subsequently, even today, and this is nearly a year later, some of those people that were at that event now ask me to go and do bespoke stuff for them as well. So it wasn't just the event, it's the continuation of that that keeps coming. But also that I haven't taken it for granted, and I still do the giving bit that got me there in the first place, and I don't just stop because I got the referral. But that for me, I would say is my, I guess, biggest referral. Some of the best ones are different people that you meet along the way, but definitely my biggest referral. How about
Um,
yourself?
so two things. One is I remember how I meet people. So you and I know each other because of Keith Hadaway. So he invited you to one of our events last year. I bumped into Keith and I'd not seen him in person for about 4.5 years. And then I was at another friend of mine, Greg Middleton's wedding, Easter last year, and I felt like I was on. It was like getting the gang back together. I was with a bunch of people that I knew from networking that I'd not seen for ages. Keith was one of them, and we reconnected. So effectively, you and I are speaking today because of Keith, because of Greg, and I've stayed in touch with Greg for years. And we met through networking. And that goes back to a guy called Mike Gilsenan, who first invited me to go to a networking event, and he had to invite me for 4 weeks before I eventually said yes. And then the weird thing is, so this whole my whole world of circle networks goes back to Mike Gilsenan. A couple of months ago, Keith invited Megan Gilsenan, who is Mike's daughter-in-law, along to Circle Networks, and it was like full circle moment. So I thought that was quite interesting. So I remember like the chain of connections, and I am grateful and thank people for that. So Keith in particular is a good introducer. How has networking worked for me? Probably in a monetary sense, I changed what I asked for once, and I think there's a tendency that we just go networking and ask for something easy. So I changed what I was asking for once, and it led to I wanted an introduction to a franchise. I thought if I work with one particular franchisee and do a good job for them, that'll unlock all the other people in that franchise organisation. And that's exactly what happened. So someone gave me a little opportunity. There was no big, it turned into a £45,000 client for me. It didn't come with that advertised. It was just come and do this little bit of work. But that little bit of work led to a much bigger opportunity once they tested me, and I didn't realise it was a test. And I think sometimes with networking, people go, oh, I'm not sure. You seem like a nice person, Dave, but could you just do this little thing for me? And then if you do a good job, it unlocks this bigger opportunity. But nobody tells you that, do they?
And sometimes that's not even a job. Sometimes that's give me a call next Tuesday at 3 and let's have a conversation. And you don't necessarily see the value in that, so you find an excuse not to go. We've all been there. I've looked at things and gone, oh, I don't really want to do that this week. Or I book something in and think, oh, I'm a big advocate of making use of your time. So I think it is then quantifying what those things are, and also how and whom you can help and who can help you as well, because otherwise opportunities slip you by.
Definitely. You never know what it's going to... You don't know who people know, and you don't know what opportunity is going to lead to. So, it's International Networking Week. If you've never, or you don't regularly network, or you want to meet some new people, this is the week to try it. And whether it's in Circle Networks or another network, I'm a huge advocate of people trying different things. I'm not here to say Circle Networks is the best. It's finding what works for you. But we thought we would share some tips with people. So why should... Well, we've kind of covered why should somebody go networking this week, Dave. But why should they try it this week?
Because why wouldn't you? If you have been waiting, if you've sat on the fence, if you've been thinking around it, or, and I would caveat that with, you've had a difficult experience with networking before and it hasn't worked for you, maybe listening to something like this gives you an opportunity to reset, reframe, and do it with a bit more purpose.
I wrote a post about it this morning. Like, we're all using social media, and most of us, if we've got a business, we post on social media for our business. Some people post weekly, some post daily. They don't get a client every time they post. If they send messages to people, they don't get a client, but they still do it. And I think networking's the same. It's marketing activity, and you've got to do it, be consistent with it, and work on improving that. So one of the things that I just want to share with people, and we've just come off a training call about this, is what are people asking for when they go networking? So what would you recommend for people, Dave?
Be as simple as possible, and almost to the point of becoming boring about what you're asking for, so that you can. So that you can, and sometimes the unexpected happens while you're on a live call, and also that, but that's quite a nice intro, because that happens in real life as well. Sometimes we go to say something and it doesn't work out as we want to, and we can make that into something, or we can continue and own that as well.
So for me, when I come across a lot of people networking, they don't know what they want. Someone just says, come networking. So they go networking and they go, well, here's what I do. Kind of sit back and wait for all the new business to come in. And I think there's a couple of things for people. One, turn up with a smile. It's surprising how many, I mean, this is my, if you're watching this is my interested listening face. And I'm like, oh, I need to smile a lot more. So I have to remind myself to smile. It makes such a difference. And have a client example. When someone says, what do you do? Rather than your long drawn out, well, I'm an expert in this, this, and this, that you probably include some technical phrases and terms that people don't understand. Just tell a story of a client. So let me give you an example. So I had this client, they had this problem. They came to me. I did this, this, and this for them. And then this was the result that they had. And if we get good at telling stories like that, people can work out, oh, I know someone that does that as well. If it was a problem for that person, it might be a problem for this person. Would that be a good introduction for you? Yes, it would. So have a client example. So as you're traveling to or about to log on to a networking event, just make a couple of notes on, here's a client example. Another one would be a type of business. So some people might say, I want to speak to people that are travel agents because they offer a VA service to them, or they're very good at bookkeeping for people involved in travel, or whatever it might be. Give an example. So think about for a minute some of your best clients that you've had in the past and give people an example of one of those. I find that that's an easy thing to do. And that is usually more interesting than hearing people listing things off. What's a good tip for you about being present at a networking event, Dave?
I think it's realising not what you want to say, it's also recognising what people need to hear. I hear a lot of times that people start using jargon, or they start using acronyms, or they start telling people the intricate details of what it is that they do. And we don't know, so we tend to switch off. Or we have people justifying what they do. So they'll say, I've come from this background, I've got 20 years experience, I've worked with businesses such as, and they normally sometimes come from a bigger background that aren't relevant to the people they're looking for today. So I think it's being confident and knowing what you want to say, knowing that you're enough to be in the room with people, but that the people opposite you are just trying to do the same as what you're doing. How can I help this person in front of me? So that means I can't regale the acronyms and all the intricacies of your business and your work, but I can resonate with something that I'll think, oh, I heard this the other day. I know who you need to speak to. Keep it really simple.
Yeah, and that's a good point there, because if we also put the focus on the other people, and I think there's a tendency that sometimes, we've all done it, I'm listening, but I'm just waiting for my turn to speak. So I nod along, but really I'm just, all right, you shut up now. Okay, let me tell you about me, because I'm amazing and I do all this great stuff, and here's how you can help me. Me. Whereas if you go networking and make it all about you, so Dave, oh, that's really interesting. And have a couple of good questions for people. What made you become a coach, Dave? Who's your best client? If I was going to introduce you to somebody, or if I could help you in any way, what could I do for you? And then that makes it all about you, and you go, oh, Jamie's really good, and he offered to help me with this stuff.
It's the CIA way of doing things. I don't know if you saw that podcast on, I think it was Diary of a CEO. They said they would ask 2 questions and then give an affirmation. So why is it that you do that? And what is it you love about that? And then they would agree and say, oh, yeah, that's very good. And you walk away with those connections. And you say, oh, you've ever done that? You've met somebody and walked away and gone, I really enjoyed that conversation. They made you the hero of the story. Whereas you go, oh, where have you been on holiday? Oh, I went to Spain. I went to Spain. I went to this place, and I went to this, and this was brilliant. Rather than leaning in and going, whereabouts did you go? Where would you recommend? And then going, oh, that sounds amazing. That sounds like a really great holiday. Making them the hero, making the person in front of you the hero of the conversation. Your time will come.
Definitely. So while we're on that then, so you've been part of Circle Networks for coming up for 6 months, I think, 5 or 6 months. Describe how our events work and what you like about them, because they are very conversational.
They're really conversational. So my first event that I came to was in Sandbach at the live event that we did. And I didn't know what to expect. I'd been to lots of networking events where I got to talk for 60 seconds, if I was lucky, sometimes even less. And not necessarily with purpose, because in that short amount of time, no one knows you. So to sit down, as we did, be explained how Circle Networks worked around friendship fueling business, which for me is really important, because as solopreneurs, as people that work with businesses, it does mingle, it does flick between the two. We got to talk about ourselves. We got to learn about people. What was your interest? And I got to understand instantly, I think in the first conversation, I spoke to somebody who had an interest in rugby. I have an interest in rugby. So we had an instant connection, rather than me trying to work out what they did and and they are not what they do, but I found those connections. And we have 3 rounds of those, so that we got to speak to the majority of the people in the room, not everybody, but the majority. 2 spotlights that sit in the middle so that we can highlight some people and get to know them in a little bit more detail. But what I thought was the really powerful thing was there wasn't an action to say, right, now you've met everybody, go away and continue talking to everyone, because you can't. So there was always that emphasis that sits throughout it that says, think about that one thing you're going to do from today. Now, if you do that one thing at a time, you might end up doing 3 things, but that one thing makes what you do and go worthwhile, and it's easier to do because you know people more.
You're right. It's that connection, isn't it? Finding something that we've got in common with people. So for you, it might be rugby. For both of us, it's people that have got dogs. There's all sorts of things that we find that you don't normally hear in a 60-second pitch. And this is about building relationships with people. And then we try to make it easy so that people can focus on conversation at our events, whether it's online or in person. And then as soon as the event finishes, we send out all the contact details for people, because I think, and you've probably experienced this, it's the follow-up that makes a difference after a networking event, isn't it?
Well, I think it's everything, because I've sat there, because when you don't know, and gone to an event and someone said, oh, Dave, I know that person that you want. Nothing. Oh, brilliant. And I never hear from them again. And I do nothing, but I then blame them because I don't want to blame myself. They never got back to me. Or worse, I sent them an email, nothing. So I think it's learning more around how to have that follow-up, and that is your responsibility and not the other person's responsibility, allows you to take ownership of it as well.
Yeah. I also think that we live in a world post-COVID where we don't want to bother people. I can't ring Dave because he's not expecting my phone call. So I'll have to wait for him to get in touch, rather than me just dropping you a message. Dave, it was great to speak to you. Here's my number. I'll give you a call later or tomorrow. And then at least, because most of us don't answer numbers that we don't recognise anymore. So if you send someone your number and they save it, then it's an easy way. But just follow up with people. I think everyone's busy. And particularly with networking, if I take notes and I go, Dave's interested in this, and then I come out of the networking event, and then my dog needs a wee, I'm hungry, I've got some client work to do, and before you know it's the end of the day. I'll do it tomorrow. And then it's tomorrow, and then I'm busy with other stuff. One of the things that I encourage people is to put a little bit of time. If you go in networking, put another 20 minutes afterwards, at some point that day, to do your actions. And it's such a simple thing because we're all really busy. So unless we make time to do the follow-up for other people, how can we expect them to do it for us? So if you do go networking this week for the first time, it's not just the time of the event. Put in a little bit of time to do something after the event. And if I've met you and you say you want to speak to people who, I don't know, what would you like, Dave? What is it you would like?
Well, at the moment, I'm wanting to speak to people in the food and drink world, specifically in the wellness. So anyone that works with bars or anything to do with wellness or that you can eat or take.
There you go. So if I meet you and you describe what you're looking for, and then I go, oh, actually, I know someone like that. We're all busy, so we need to put a little bit of time after the event to do the follow-up to then go, hi, Dave, you mentioned that you wanted to speak to someone in the food and drink industry. I know this person. Would that be a good fit for you? And you'll say yes or no. And then I go away and do it. And if I do that for you, it's a bit like when we buy someone a drink. If we're out somewhere and I buy you a coffee, you're probably going to want to buy me back if you're a nice person. And the same with passing introductions. I'll feel like I need to reciprocate. And that is kind of all you need to know for networking. Go along, turn up with a smile, be prepared, give an example of a client, follow up with people, and do something for them.
I know, I kind of caveat that as well you mentioned it very, very briefly, write notes. The amount of times I see people and they don't take any notes, and I think, well, if you're not taking the time to write them down, you're not going to do the thing you said you were going to do, because you'll never remember And even if you just don't take notes and you walk out the room with every intention to help somebody, you might have spoken to 10, 15 people. Take notes. And I tend to circle the ones I think I can help the most. So at least when I walk out, I know where I've got a starting point. Because I can't help everybody, but the meeting doesn't finish, the event doesn't finish. You are at work.
Yes.
Work doesn't start afterwards.
Oh, no, Dave. Now that I've finished networking, I need to go and do some work.
I've got to go to work now.
Networking is part of your business.
It's so important, so that extra 20 minutes isn't I've not been at work for 2 hours, I now need to go. This is like, I've gone to the meeting, I've got some actions to go do, now I need to go and execute them. This is part of that.
It is. I love how I can hear your dogs in the background. So think about this then. So networking is work. It's marketing activity for your business. In the same way that we might spend 30 minutes or even an hour crafting a post that we post on social media. And then if some people will hang around after they've posted it to engage people in the comments, that's work. That's marketing activity. And the same with networking. Networking is not time off. It's speaking to people and promoting your business and building relationships. And if we meet somebody and so if I've met you and you want to speak to founders in the food industry, I need to go away and do something to do that after the event. It takes a little bit of effort. And the better I get at doing that, the more likely it is that someone's going to do it for me. I set myself, 2 years ago, I set myself a challenge to pass a referral a day. Now, for some people, this is a bit of a leap, but I wanted to get into the habit of passing referrals. I already did a lot, but I wanted it to be one a day, my one a day. And I wanted to make it a habit, just like brushing your teeth. I just wanted to do it without thinking about every day. And it changed my business. Now, how can you do that? So if you meet somebody that you like, I need to then think, and if you deal with my ideal kind of clients, Dave, and I think, oh, if Dave could just introduce me to some of his people, that would be amazing. I need to do that back for you. There's my dog barking now. I need to do that back for you. And the more that we do that kind of stuff on a consistent basis, the more that we get back and the better we get at it. And if you are watching this or listening to it and you find that you resist making introductions for other people, that's exactly what people feel for you. So if we all feel this, well, I can't introduce Dave because I don't know what he charges or why he wants to speak to them or whatever it is that's going through your head. I should ring you and say, Dave, I've got this person that I want to introduce to you. What would you like me to do? And if I put it all on you, then what are you going to do?
Well, exactly. But I think there's elements that when I hear people say, oh, I can't help anybody. I don't have a contact list. I can't help anybody. Help doesn't just mean referral, by the way. I think that help could be, if I met someone a couple of weeks ago at a networking event, and they've liked and shared my last 10 LinkedIn posts. That's free. Anybody can do that. But I've sat there and I've said, well, that adds value. I know the value of what that means, and it's widened my audience. I've now gone out my way to help them. So there's always something that you can do. There's always a value you can add. And normally most of it's here. You don't realise how much you can do to help and support other people.
And it might be that you've met someone, so you go networking this week and you meet somebody. You might not know them, but you like them. You feel that there's the start of some connection. You could then speak to other people. So I might go away from this today, because I don't know who other people know. So I might have met you for the first time today, and then I go away and I speak to someone that you don't know. And I say, oh, I met this guy today, Dave. He's involved in helping founders in the food industry. They might go, oh my God, my brother, my sister, my best friend, my neighbour, my client that I was just with needs their help. And if we just pick one person, so I might just this week say to everyone I meet, do you know anybody in the food industry? Because a friend of mine could be a great introduction for them.
I think that's a good challenge. I definitely recommend everybody doing that.
But that's all it takes. And if we do that for one other person, and we did that for one person a week, by the end of the year, we'll have made a difference to 52 people.
And that's coming back to you. People notice that. And they might not even notice the fact that you might not even be able to do anything for them. But when I notice people going out of their way for others, that's also somebody that is more trustworthy, that I'm more likely to refer, that I know I can start to see their character about who they are. And I'm going to want to lean into them and learn a little bit more about them and who they are, because that's the kind of people that become our people, right?
Definitely. We were just away in Dubai. We had a conference, Circle Networks event in Dubai the other week, and I gave an example of connections and what they can lead to. And I gave an example of Gillian Schofield, who's down in Somerset. Gillian came along to Circle Networks because someone invited her. She didn't want to join another network. Oh, God, another network. I'm already in one. I don't need another one. She came along, she liked it, and I helped her with some stuff, gave her some stuff to do, and one of the things that I wanted to do was help people earn an extra £1,000 a month. So I suggested some social media posts, some ways that they could help other people. By the end of the first month, Gillian's like, oh my God, I've got too much work. She made £2,000 in her first month. First world problems. Gillian then introduced her friend Charlotte. Charlotte came along and joined Circle Networks, and Charlotte's a web developer. Gillian's a copywriter. Charlotte's a web developer. Charlotte's had loads of business, loads of business from Circle Networks, from the people that she's met and the referrals. Charlotte then introduced me to a guy that she met at another online networking event, George McGilvray, who's up in Scotland. So Charlotte lives in Somerset. George lives just south of Aberdeen, and he then came along, didn't want to join another network. I'm already in some other networks, Jamie. I don't need another one. I'm like, okay, do you get any referrals from them? No. So within 2 weeks, he'd got a number of new clients because he's got a product that works brilliantly, Lead Chest, and it was easy to introduce. He joined Circle Networks. I said to George at one point, I was looking for introductions to people in South Africa. So he said, oh, I know somebody. Let me introduce you to my friend Michelle McFarlane. She runs a digital marketing agency in South Africa. He introduced me to Michelle. She launched Circle Network South Africa. She brought in her coach, Kenny Archer. So the two of them launched that. Michelle then introduced one of her friends who'd moved from South Africa to Dubai, and Janine Lingenfelden joined Circle Networks, got involved, now runs a Circle Networks group out there. Janine invited her friend, Eva. So Eva came along, loved it, came to our conference, went away, and raved about it to her sister, who lives in America. And her sister launched, Kasia launched Circle Networks in the US. All of this came from Gillian coming along and not really wanting to come networking, but fell in love with it and found that's where all their clients came from. So if you're looking to grow your business, it doesn't come with there's not a menu where you go, all right, there's all these things that are available to you. If you come and do this, all this stuff's going to happen. You just got to meet some people and find out what happens. And along the way, you'll meet some nice people, have a laugh, travel, socialise together. What's not to like about that?
And I think that's the thing, it's the laugh together. That's the friendship fuels business piece. For me, is you're more likely to do things with good people that you get on with and work with, and you don't have to be as intense. You can actually take networking for what it is, because you don't go networking today and you're very doubtful you'll get any business back tomorrow, but it's understanding who those people are and building it.
One of the examples that I love to share is Paul McGowan. So Paul came along to Circle Networks 3 years ago, coming up for 3 years ago. Liked it, joined straight away. He works in financial services. He's not somebody that you instantly go, oh, I woke up this morning thinking I needed a life insurance policy. Thank you very much.
I haven't done that.
Networking isn't shopping. We don't wake up in the morning, oh, I'm going networking today. I wonder whose customer I can become. So Paul spent 6 months helping other people and got nothing back other than building relationships with people. And then what he found in month 7 was his first bit of business came in. Month 8, he had his best month in business in his 26 years in business. And the same in 9. and 10. And it just went on like that. And it's transformed his business as a result of it. So sometimes we don't see instant results. It might be that you meet somebody like you who's a coach and I invest in you rather than you becoming my client, but then you help me to grow my business. You must have seen some people that have done things like that.
Absolutely, but I think there's people that will invest directly in that kind of first transaction piece and almost as a part of a get to know. And then as a recompense of that, I can introduce you to 10 people because I say, well, yeah, I use them. And I think everyone gets really hung up in networking and it says, well, I already have a good coach, so I can't use you. There's plenty of room for everybody. Everybody is different. There are coaches in three-piece suits, there's coaches in hoodies and hats, and there's a whole plethora of people in between. So there isn't that, well, I have loyalty to one, because you're trying to put people with people, and that's where that joy comes from. It's not just, I know one coach, I know one insurance provider. It's putting people together.
Definitely. I use the analogy that we're in the world of business dating. So in our personal lives, we don't go on one date and get married.
Unless you're on Channel 4.
I've yet to meet those people, though. But we go on dates with people, we get to know them, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and then we move, and then we don't stop dating on the first date forever. When it doesn't work, we'll go and meet somebody else. And some people just end up becoming friends, some become lifelong partners. And the same applies to building your business network. We meet, we build a relationship. And if you use Gareth Williams as an example, so me and him met 10 years ago once, briefly after a networking event. Never spoke again until he came along to Circle Networks. Now we've become good friends. We've travelled around the world together. We've stayed at each other's houses. Sometimes just because we meet somebody doesn't mean it's going to work out. We need to meet them in the right time and place in order to build good relationships with them. And I think that's what we offer, is helping people get to know people rather than just meeting.
And I want to just dispel a thing that I hear all the time that says, oh, but if I come into a group, and this might be wherever you go, I need to change all my services overnight and give all the business to the people in the room. And that's just not how things work. You said 6 months ago when I came into Circle, one of my insurance policies came up for renewal, and I had a message from somebody who had already assumed this. Dave, your renewal is up now. I assume you'll be going somewhere else because you've moved groups. No, your service was fantastic. Your customer service was brilliant. You're a good person. Why would I do that? And I think also business people haven't got time to keep moving and moving and moving. I moved for a reason. I changed for a reason. And if there is no reason, that's that relationship. It doesn't mean everything gets ditched. You bring people in and you bring people in.
I agree. So let's bring this back to International Networking Week. It's a great week to go and meet some new people. You never know what you're going to get from it. Be open-minded. With Circle Networks, we offer a 2-week free trial. You can come along to any of our online events that you like. They last for 90 minutes. And as Dave explained earlier, we have 3 breakout sessions. So there'll be a quick introduction from whoever's hosting it. And then we put you into a breakout room, 4 people in a breakout. It's conversational. We guide the conversation. Tell us a bit about you when you're not working. Help people get to know you first. Then a bit about your business. Give an example of a client. And then what can people do to help? What would you like to happen next? And for most people, that's, should we have a virtual coffee? Or if they live near to each other, then meet in real life for a coffee. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So many people I speak to that come along and try Circle Networks but never want to join, turns out that they get clients from it. Heaven forbid that you go networking and get some clients. Equally, there will be some people that might help you unlock growth. So I didn't realise I needed a coach until I met Dave, and then he's helped me remove some limiting beliefs, work out what I'm doing wrong or what I could do better, and my business grows. So you just never know. Might be that you might be someone's client, they could be your client, or you introduce each other to your clients. But if you never come, you'll never find out. And that's what I like about it. It's the unknown. It's the unknown. For some people, that can feel intimidating, can't it, Dave, coming to a networking event?
Even virtually, you're virtually in the corner hovering over. One of the conferences we went to in Dubai, someone said, I'd like to say I'm looking forward to it, but I'll be the guy that's cowering away over by the coffee machine, kind of not wanting to get involved in conversation, pretending to be on a phone call. We've all been that person. And that's the joy with what we do, is that everyone recognises that, and you'll have the warmest welcome.
It is. I think we're not unique, right? I'm not here to say that we're the only one that do what we do, but we do what we do well, and that we invite people in to have conversations in small groups, just like you said. It's when I first designed Circle Networks, I wanted it to be the equivalent of that small huddle of people when you stood with a cup of coffee or tea, just chatting, and we can do that in our breakout rooms, and people build brilliant friendships locally and internationally as a result of meeting at our online events. Anything that you'd like to add, Dave, before we wrap up?
Just try. I think if there ever a week and an opportunity, we're in February now. There's still 11 months of the year to go. You'll have goals, hopefully. You'll have ideas that you want to grow your business. Networking can be such a significant part of that. If you've had a bad experience, we sometimes have those. We've all dated people that didn't work out, and as you said earlier, we didn't stop. So maybe if there's a sign to try, this week is that sign.
It's not going to cost you a penny. So we have over 100 events a month now, and a mixture of online and in person. Come along and try it. It's 90 minutes. There is no travel. There is no cost. It's just invest 90 minutes of your time to meet some new people. You never know what you're going to get from it. And like for the two of us, networking has changed our worlds. Met new people, met new suppliers, met collaborators. You just don't. So, thank you very much. If you've got any questions about anything to do with networking or Circle Networks, drop me or Dave a message. But just go along to the Circle Networks website, circlenetworks.co.uk. Click on the link there's a button on there that says My Free Guest Pass, and register for some events to come along and see what you think. I hope to see you soon.
Thank
you, Dave.
Thank you, Jamie.